Guys, this is a very, very, very nice day because we have my trainer, Miriam Fried, on the podcast today. I'm so excited.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I literally saw you yesterday, but if you guys know, which you probably do if you've been following me, I've been on a journey with Miriam since April of 2024. When I was in the heart of esthetician school, I had no sense of routine. I had no sense of self. I was just go, 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 go. And by the grace of God, you fell into my lap and you happened to be in Greenpoint.
It was all meant to be.
It was truly like fate, the universe, all of that jazz. And so I'm so excited to have you here because people had so many questions for you.
Very excited to be here.
So this is on the agenda. Before we just get started, let's just do a brief intro. Who is Miriam? How did you become a trainer? How did we get here?
Yeah, I mean, we can go way back.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll go down many different rabbit holes and tangents today.
Yeah.
As we do.
So yeah, obviously now I'm a trainer, but my background is definitely not, original background is definitely not in fitness. I did not grow up playing sports. I was not athletic. I was a theater kid.
I was just about to say, weren't you a theater kid or did I make this up?
Fully a theater kid.
Love.
I was growing up, I did, everything. I sang, acted, danced. I was a professional child actor, drove into New York City.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah. So my whole life I was very much on that trajectory. And then I went to NYU. I got my BFA in theater. So again, my really whole life plan was always to be a performer, to work in theater, work in the entertainment industry in some way, shape, or form. But obviously, plans change.
We plan and God laughs.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, very much story of my life. So yeah, basically it kind of all started because post-college, I was trying to be an actor and I worked a bunch of sort of side gigs, side hustles. And I decided to join a gym. And it was the first time I'd ever joined a gym, first time I'd ever really spent time in a gym. But at this time, I was very much in that. I feel a lot of us have had this era where you just go to the gym and you go on the treadmill and maybe you do some crunches after.
But you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Have no idea what to do. And
yep.
I would go a lot. I would go most days of the week. I was very committed to my routine, but I had no idea what I was doing. Absolutely no idea what I was doing.
We all don't know.
It's super intimidating, and especially as women, it is super overwhelming. And the gym I went to, it was a 24-hour fitness. So the weight room was it was literally just all bros, 100%.
GTL.
So not a shot in hell was I going to enter that room and that space. I was so intimidated. But I was getting the itch a little bit because I was going a lot and I was getting the itch. And I was I want maybe to do something more than just go on the treadmill. I feel I'm craving that.
Yeah.
I also I have scoliosis. I've always had scoliosis. So I have, at this time, was having a lot of back pain, was trying to kind of figure out how to work through it. And I started going to a chiropractor. And when I went to the chiropractor, he was like, have you ever weight trained? And I was laughed. I was absolutely not.
What year was this also?
2013. So that was when I graduated college. It was the year I graduated.
Yeah.
So a ways back.
It was yesterday.
Yes, kind of feels like it sometimes. So yeah, he was the first person who'd ever sort of put that thought in my head. And he was it's really if you have scoliosis, if you have back pain, this would probably be really beneficial to you. And I'm a good student. So if someone tells me to
do something, you'll do it.
I'm okay, this sounds super overwhelming, but let me see what I can do and give it a shot. And I'm very much a researcher. And I'm very much a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So I didn't go to the weight room right away. What I did was I went home and I started researching. And back in 2013, this was sort of very, very early stages of people posting fitness content on Instagram, very early stages of lots of YouTube workout videos, bodybuilding.com. So these are kind of the places that
bodybuilding.com.
Yeah, this was a thing. People would post their workout routines and you kind of, so I just spent probably weeks just researching, watching Instagram, YouTube, reading forums, looking up research, trying to just figure out. Because I've always believed knowledge is power.
Yes.
Knowing as much as we can know about something before we do it, especially when it's especially again, as women and going into an environment that's very male dominated. I knew I was only going to feel comfortable doing that if I felt I knew something about what I was doing.
For sure. Also, there's nothing more intimidating than going into a gym, not knowing what you're doing, and it's a group of guys and they're
Big
totally
dudes.
dominating the space. It's terrifying.
And they're throwing weights around. You're so yeah. So I spent that time and then I would go to my gym and I would say for the first like few weeks that I was like trying to build up the confidence to do this, my gym at the time, it was like a basement weight room. So you'd have to like walk down the stairs. So I would like go to the gym, I'd like walk on the treadmill a little bit, and then I would like kind of be like, okay, let me go try. And then I would like walk down the stairs, peek in, see if there was anybody in there. And then if I saw like there were a bunch of dudes in there, I'd like run back up and just like stick it on the treadmill. But like one day, eventually I kind of like worked myself up and I just started going. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to like find my little corner, take up my space. I've done my research. I have my workout routine. I know what I'm doing. I can do this.
I'm empowered.
So that was kind of like day one for me. And then like when I started strength training, like it literally changed everything for me. Like everything. Like the way that I like walked through the world, the way I felt about myself. Like it was like such a game changer. It also, side note, like the chiropractor was right.
This was my next question. Like, did it help your back?
Like I completely changed everything. I haven't had back pain like that since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do we know why?
Strengthening your muscle, like getting stronger, building muscle.
We'll get into this,
I literally had no muscle. I was super weak. I had no core strength. You know, I had never really done anything.
No, I guess
besides some cardio.
I guess now that I think about it, it does make sense because like when you're having back problems, they always tell you to like embrace your core, like when
100%.
You're walking, so that you're not like leaning so much on your back. So I guess this checks out.
Well, first of all, most people do have some kind of like lower back pain, and most lower back pain comes from a weak core.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
That checks out.
So yeah, being able to like actually build the strength to be able to work through the pain that I was feeling. And then it also just like, it really like changed things for me. Like I started to feel more confident. I started to walk into the weight room. I started to feel like I can hold my own with these guys, you know? And I've always been definitely more of like a girly girl. I've always been kind of on the smaller side. So I've just like being able to hold my own in that kind of environment, it just really like built up my confidence. And at the same time, I was, you know, trying to make it as an actor, and it's very tough on your confidence.
Very scary.
Very, very tough on your confidence. So like while I was kind of struggling in that way, I felt like it was like a really good outlet for everything that I was feeling. But I never thought about doing it as a career. Like I was still kind of just like, this is my hobby. Like I'm just doing it for fun. But like one day I kind of woke up and I was like, I could potentially, you know, do this. I was still thinking of it as like a sort of side hustle situation. But I decided to get my certification. While I was getting certified, I got hired at a group fitness studio. And I started working as like an assistant instructor while I was, you know, studying for my certification. And that kind of started the whole next phase of my life.
That is crazy because one, I didn't even know that you had dealt with scoliosis. Like, and I feel like we talk like our entire session. Like, I feel like I know so much about you.
It's not like a main thing that I talk about anymore because again, I don't like deal with it on a day-to-day basis.
Like it's not like a thing that you deal with anymore. Okay, wait, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Side note, like can help with scoliosis. But yeah, no, I did not know that was the backstory, but I really like what you said about the confidence because I have felt so much confidence coming out of your studio every time I am with you and like I leave a session. I immediately feel better about myself. I immediately feel stronger mentally and physically. And I do walk through the world differently. So like, I didn't even realize that it had that kind of effect on me until you said it, but it really does.
And like, that's not just an anecdotal thing. Like it's actually like,
it's real.
There are studies that strength training, I mean, I know we're gonna talk a little more about like the benefits of strength training for women, but like there are actual studies that show that strength training improves the way that women think about themselves, about their bodies, improves their body image, like improves their confidence.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
And yes, we will get to all of that. But even though I came to you with a goal too, at the time when I came to you, I was like very, I don't want to say underweight because I actually don't even know how much I weighed, but I had lost a lot of weight leading up to my wedding because I was so anxious because being a bride is a mental illness. And I was like the bones in my chest were showing and I didn't even realize it until I got my wedding photos back where I was like, ugh. And I really wanted to gain weight in a healthy way. And I knew that would also come with weight training. Like I knew that I wanted to do that, but I had no fucking idea where to start, which we'll also get to because I know a lot of women are in the exact same boat and the exact same boat that you were in when you walked into that gym and it was a bunch of dudes and you were like, I would rather die than try to go on a machine and start trying something for the first time.
Yeah.
Like absolutely not.
Yep.
And now when I'm in the gym by myself without you, I know things that I can do and I know how to do them and I know like what weight is appropriate and what's not and how many reps to do
and that like you're capable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it builds confidence, but to close the loop on that thought, like even though when I came to you, I was smaller, like in a smaller body, and I'm now in a bigger, stronger, healthier body, I feel so much more confident than when I came to you in a smaller body.
Which is so antithetical from what society tells us.
100%, which we will also get to. But I want to also like understand like how the fuck does someone become a trainer? Because everyone is cosplaying a trainer on the internet, and I can't wrap my head around it. So like, what is the actual legitimate credentials?
That's a very good question. So like I mentioned, when I was first interested in becoming a trainer, the first thing I did was get a certification. A training certification, it's a written exam. And I will say, like, I don't think that exam is like the end all be all of being a skilled trainer. However, I do see it as kind of like the baseline sort of thing that you can do to just show your clients that you take yourself seriously. Also, you have to keep that certification up to date every 2 years, and you have to do continuing education credits in order to do that. So if someone, like if your trainer has a current certification, it means that they're keeping up to date. They're doing advanced certifications. They're taking their education very seriously because there's always so much more to learn. There's ways to get a little more specific about your training if you want to work with specific populations of people. And so I think that that's like a really good sign that like someone's keeping their certification up to date. I will say that like it gets a little confusing on the internet because there's sort of these two camps, right? There's fitness influencers and then there's personal trainers. And it's very easy to confuse the two. And some people are both. Like some people do both. Some people create content and are, I guess, quote unquote influencers, and they are also personal trainers. Yeah. Some people are just one and some people are just the other.
The lines are very blurred.
It's very confusing. I think it also gets a lot more confusing when fitness influencers who maybe aren't certified start kind of creating apps, selling programs, kind of like doing
cosplaying.
Yes.
They're cosplaying.
Exactly. And like there's nothing wrong with being a fitness influencer. I just think that if you are a consumer of content, it's helpful to know the difference because the biggest difference is that fitness influencers are sharing anecdotally like what worked for me. And I think we forget sometimes that exercise is a science. And in science, anecdotal evidence is like the lowest accepted form of evidence, right? So like someone sharing what works for them, awesome. Like that's great. But we have to take that with a grain of salt because like just because someone says I lost 40 pounds and like here's what I did,
it's not going to be the same for you.
We don't know context behind that, right? Like that's not research. That's just their experience. That's one experience. And it doesn't mean we should copycat them and do what they did because they're just a person. They're just an influencer.
Sharing their own individual experience. 1,000%. That is music to my ears. And the same can be said for skincare. It bothers me so much.
I think there are a lot of overlaps between skincare and fitness, like a lot of similarities.
Like skincare influencers versus like an esthetician who took, significant time to do education.
But you see someone who has beautiful skin and you're like, drop the skincare routine, and they don't necessarily know how to, they don't know why their skin looks that way. Like, right? Like that could literally just be genetics.
Right.
And there are so many things that play into that. So they're just giving you advice that worked for them, but they don't necessarily have the background or the knowledge or the understanding to talk about how to do it for yourself. And everyone is so different.
Yes.
And like the way I train myself is very different from the way I train my clients because my clients have completely different backgrounds, needs. Like it's, so I could share what works for me, but like it's not really that helpful.
Right. It's not a blueprint. Like
exactly.
And that's the, like, I mean, again, same with skincare, something that worked for someone else, or they say like, oh, this product changed my skin. Then all these other people who are consuming that content are going to go buy that thing, hoping that it's going to be a miracle worker for them. But really, like, there are so many things that go into it. Same with fitness. It's like a lot of it is also just genetics.
100%.
And I went through this phase when I was starting to grow on TikTok, which by the time this comes out, it might be RIP. We were just listening to the court hearing. But there was like a time where I was growing on TikTok and people were like, what is your workout routine? What is your workout routine? And at the time I was going to Core Power Sculpt like 3 days a week. I was definitely like seeing, results from Core Power because it is psychotic and those girls who teach those classes are literally Navy SEALs. But I also got online at one point and I was like, guys, I'm going to put this all out there and I'm just going to say like, I've always, like, I've had a six pack since I was literally 6 years old. Like, I don't, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't sell you some tummy tea right now. Like, this is just, I'm saying with my chest, it's genetics.
Side note, that is the first video of yours I ever saw. Like, it showed up in my For You page, and that I was like, immediate follow. Because I was like, this is such a breath of fresh air. Because
I thought I was going to get canceled.
No, it was, I was so grateful to see that. No, that's how I found you. That video showed up on my For You page, and I was like, I love this girl. Because how many times are influencers asked that question, and probably similar to you, like maybe that's just their body.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's so easy for them to be like, actually, I'm going to share now a series on how I have a flat stomach. Right. And that series, I bet, will get so much engagement.
Yes.
It will do so well. But like, it's not honest.
And sometimes I don't even think that people know that they're like, they're not intentionally doing it. They're not like, oh, like this is a great opportunity to do this. Maybe in their minds, like they really think like, oh, this is what changed the way that I look.
Totally.
But really, like like a lot of times, like it is just the luck of the draw.
Totally.
Genetics. Like some people get long, gorgeous, luscious hair. I didn't. I bought mine, but
Same.
I did get like a flat tummy, like in the genetic lottery. You know what I mean? So it's just everyone has something. Sometimes it's good skin. And like it just is what it is.
Yeah, but it does make it much more confusing to kind of like filter through that content and kind of figure out who should you be taking advice from, who should you be taking information from, because there is so much of that.
Yes, and it's like also what actually works for me. And then it makes it so much harder to actually find that thing.
And the unfortunate thing is that like the answer to so many questions around fitness is it depends.
Yes.
And it's not a clear-cut answer.
And people hate it.
It sucks. Like, it sucks. I understand, like, we want answers. We want quick fixes. We want, like, that magical solution. But the answer is often, more times than not, it depends. So if you find someone who's giving you a very clear-cut answer, to me, that's always, like, immediate red flag. Because usually you can't, especially if they don't know you.
Yeah. And they don't have, like, the background.
Yeah.
Because, like, fitness is also, and, like, health and your body, like, it's also so much just like in-depth, like personal stuff. Like I have a friend who has Lyme, okay, for example. And like some things have worked really, really, really well for her. Like she's a Pilates instructor and like that works really well for her. But like her having Lyme is like a huge component of like what has worked for her and what would serve her well and like improve her quality of life as someone who has Lyme. Like I don't know, like if she would, you know, excel doing berries 5 days a week, but like easily she could have seen someone online being like, I do berries 5 days a week and try to go do that. But really like she would be exhausted.
100% generic fitness advice isn't going to work for someone like that.
Exactly. So I'm also curious, were you always focused on strength training like you are now, or did you, because there's been so many, we've talked about this, like there's been so many evolutions of like workouts, like what, you know, is like kind of like trending. And I'm just curious, like, were you always like weight training or were you like hit at one point? Like, how did you evolve?
I mean, like I mentioned, my first job in fitness was group fitness, and I taught like more circuit style kind of like hit workouts.
Yeah.
But for me personally, like strength training has always been what I've gone back to, and it tends to be what I focus on the most with my clients as well. Interestingly enough about strength training is it's never really been the trendy thing.
Until now.
It's like really like, it really like isn't that trendy, which is so funny because I feel like it's like we have mountains of studies and research that show us like the reasons why we should be doing it.
Right.
But like it's not really like telling people like, you know, to do the same workouts consistently over time and just like slowly add weights and like keep it simple. It's not sexy.
It's not sexy, and but like it should be.
And it's like probably not going to be a super fast like overnight change. Like it's not a quick fix, but like it works.
It does.
It's just that like it's not. It's never been the trendy thing because I think it's not like an easily packaged, like here's like this like really quick, easy way to like change your body.
And it's not like, oh, just go book this class.
Right.
Yeah.
It's much more about longevity. It's much more about like sustainability. And it's much more about like health, like true genuine health, not like social media wellness. And I just don't think that is as marketable.
Yeah. But now it is.
Slowly.
And like so much is coming out about it. And like, even when I post like my workouts, like when, you know, we're together, people are always like, wait, I want to start weightlifting. But it is like such like it is such like a, I don't know, like intimidating thing because it's not so cut and dry.
Yes.
And so people just don't know what the fuck to do.
100%. And also like 70% of gyms are owned by men. Most people in their weight room are men. So like it's not like most strength spaces are not created with women in mind. Yeah. So why would women feel welcome or comfortable there?
Right. 100%. Which I had worked with a trainer prior to you when I first moved to New York in 2021. I had worked with a trainer and it was a guy. Andy actually works with him now. And he was great and it was definitely like a good starting point. But I personally feel so much more comfortable working with a female trainer just because there's such like a deeper understanding of like the female body, like what we can tolerate, what we can. I also like didn't want to work with someone who was like kind of like more like aggressive or like yelling at me.
Boot camp.
Yeah, like boot camp vibes. Like I don't really like do well with that. And like you are so, I mean, I always call you, I'm like, you look so innocent. And then you like kind of like switch up on me because you say things, you'll be like, okay, like we're going to add like 15 more pounds and we're going to do this. And you like slowly, like innocently introduce it to me. And then I'm like, you're the silent killer.
It's all a ruse.
But it is all a ruse, but it works. And I just respond so much better to working with a woman because like you just get it.
I train how I would want to be trained. And for me, like again, everyone,
you can feel it.
Everyone's different. Like everyone is looking for something different. Totally cool. Like I'm probably not for everybody, but like for me, like that's how I would want to be because if someone yelled at me, I would be out of that room so quickly. If someone made me feel
less than
not good about myself, I'd be out of there.
Yeah.
So I always have that in my mind. It's like, how would I want to be treated? Especially knowing that like so many of my clients are coming in and they're a beginner or maybe they've had like a bad experience in gyms before with a trainer and that like I'm maybe like either their first time entering the space or like their first time entering it after that negative experience. And I just want to like, I want them to walk in and feel like you're safe here.
You're safe
like
here.
You're okay.
And you feel that, by the way. Like I just want you to know. But then eventually you get comfortable with you and then you do things like this.
I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Yeah. I'm just saying you're going to feel safe.
Yes, I definitely feel safe. And I also feel safe to fail. Yeah. Like I feel safe to fail. I feel safe to not know everything. Mm-hmm. I ask so many questions. Like
I love.
You know, and you always have like a fair and like very reasonable answer, but not everything again is like black and white. So like sometimes I'm like, wait, why? Like I feel like a toddler at times, but again, I feel safe and I feel safe to fail. Like one of our goals is for me to do a pull-up in 2025 and we're gonna do it. But when I got on that day to do it and I literally was like, Miriam, like I cannot move right now. Like I can't do it. You were like, it's okay. Like we're gonna, like this is the goal. And like we're gonna get the goal. Like you absolutely can do it. And you're not gaslighting me. You're not like giving me like false confidence. Like you've shown me like it can be done.
We're close. We're not far. But it's just like,
Like when I started, I think I was like deadlifting like.
We started with a 40-pound kettlebell.
Right.
And now you deadlift more than your body weight.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is bananas. Yeah. And like I flex that all the time.
As you should.
It is
as you should, by
flex.
the way. That's huge. That's like really impressive.
But the best part about this whole journey is that like you actually get to see, if you're patient with it and consistent, you actually get to see consistent tangible results.
Yes.
Like you can see like the 40-pound kettlebell to me deadlifting over my body weight. Like that is insane. It's like 100 pounds.
And that's why I think for me, I just love strength training so much is because it's just like so many other variables are so hard to like
control.
Exactly. And also just to track.
Yeah.
But you can't argue with that. Like if someone is like, I'm not feeling great about myself, like I can't tell you like, I don't talk about also people's like aesthetics or weights with them, as you know. Yeah. But like, that's like, I can't argue with someone about that. If they're like, I'm not feeling like I look good right now, right? Like I can say what I can say and they are going to feel how they feel. But if someone's like, I don't feel like I'm making progress. And I'm like, you literally went from
this to
this weight to this weight. Like you can't argue with that.
Right. Like you are actually getting stronger.
Yes.
Period.
And I feel like that's so helpful and also just empowering. It's so empowering.
Oh my God. Like the way that I feel about myself is so different. So let's dive in. So weightlifting as a whole, why is it, I know it's beneficial for everyone to do, but specifically I feel like there's now this focus and this like revolution around like why it's beneficial for women. And I would love to know, like in your words, like what do you think it is?
Yeah. Well, I always say I think strength training has like the worst PR team because again, we have so many like studies, we have so much evidence of like all these amazing benefits, and I feel like we should all be just like screaming them from the rooftops, and like I obviously am, but like I'm like, why are we not like
talking
why
about
are we
this?
not talking about this everywhere we go? Because okay, so especially also like impacts on women, like women respond really, really well to strength training, actually better than men do. So we respond to less amounts of strength training than men. So one of the biggest benefits of strength training is that it literally extends our lives. Like actually extends our lives.
Yep.
Your risk for a cardiovascular event as a woman is lowered by 30%, or can be lowered by up to 30% if you strength train as little as 2 times a week. And do you know what the biggest cause of death for women, adult women, is?
Cardiovascular events. Yeah.
Yep, heart disease. So like that right there is like, that's enough alone, I feel like.
Yeah.
That is huge.
That'll do it. That's good data.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. But also like it, not just like the longevity of our lives, but the quality of our life,
Yeah.
you know, while we're living, decreases risks of like so many diseases, cancers. Women, as we age, starting unfortunately as young as 30, we start to lose 3 to 8% of our muscle mass per decade, and that just goes up as we get older. And I know, so I know these things like osteoporosis and like age-related muscle loss, those sound like things that are really far off. It starts really young.
Yeah. Like, and if you get ahead of it, it really does.
100%. Best way to combat those things, strength training.
Yeah.
Keep building muscle, keep maintaining your muscle mass as you age is the best way to do that. And again, it's like, I know these things kind of, I think when you're younger, especially when you're in your 20s, like it sounds sort of like distant and it sounds sort of like far off. It's kind of hard to like conceptualize, but it's like the difference of like being older and falling and not being able to get back up, or falling and having that end your life, or like being able to do daily tasks later in life, like that we take for granted now, like walking up stairs, opening a jar,
carrying the groceries,
holding your grandkids. Like I actually train my mom twice a week. I started training her a year ago. My mom is 68 and she didn't have like a whole lot of experience with strength training before we started. Her motivator was that she became a grandma, and she wasn't, you know, able to hold her granddaughter for long periods of time, and she really wanted to be able to do that. And my mom also has diabetes, and through strength training twice a week, she was able to lower her A1C. And she's also her like biggest benefit of it that she's so proud. Like when she was there last month, like she was so excited to tell me that like my niece is like learning how, she's potty training, and my mom was able to like squat down on the floor with her.
Yeah, to like help her.
Down,
yeah.
Yes, and like hold it.
Yeah,
and like stay there.
And
my
not
mom
be, like,
was
in pain.
so proud of that.
She should be.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Oh.
So like again, these are the things that like we don't think about now, but like the decisions and the things that we choose to do now are going to affect the way that we age and what that looks like. And let me tell you, it happens, it comes quickly. Like it feels like it's not going to come quickly, but like it happens very quickly. And I'm very lucky to work with women in pretty much every decade of life, and I get to see sort of like the difference in the way that they live their lives when they're like making those choices and like making this a priority versus what it looks like when you don't.
Yeah, no, 100%. And your mom also should be so proud of that.
Yeah,
like
she's honestly, she's so strong. It's
and
so impressive.
My mom had the same motivator when she became a grandmother. Right. She was like, I want to improve my quality of life. I want to really focus on my health. I want to like really get ahead of this. And you can do that at any point. But like you said, you know, it comes faster than when we think it does.
Yes.
And for some reason with aging and with like dying and like just getting older in general, like we all have this like exceptionalism mentality. Like it'll happen to everyone else but us.
Yeah.
Or we like just never think that it will be us. But the truth is like aging is inevitable. It's also a privilege. And there are so many things that we can do to not get older. We're going to get older.
Right.
But we can make it so that our quality of life is so much better as we move through these different decades and seasons of our lives that include getting older. And weight training is definitely one of them. Like you need muscle to survive, and you need muscle to be able to do things in your everyday life and like not get hurt. Like you said, I think about the falling down thing all the time. Like if someone were to just fall down and be like skin and bones, like they'd be in really bad shape. But if they had muscle on them, it's like a armor
and denser bones. And
yes.
Yeah, 100%. And also like just going to earlier in life, like obviously those things are important as well. But like even because I'm sure a lot of people listening are not in that age range quite yet, but like I work with a lot of pre-postnatal clients.
That was my next thing.
And that is like also a huge, like strength training before, during, and after a pregnancy is huge. We know of like tons and tons of benefits that it has for, you know, less symptoms during pregnancy, better births, and like better postpartum recovery. Strength training can help with all of those things. Not to mention, like, moms need to be strong, right? Like moms, they're carrying shit all day long. They're carrying toddlers. They're carrying bags. They're lugging stuff. Like moms are like the ultimate schleppers.
Yep.
And they need to be able to do that. Like it's going to make their life so much easier if they're able to like carry things. And for a very long time, there was a sort of myth that you're not supposed to lift weight during pregnancy because, you know, back in the day, not even that long ago, a couple decades ago, it was thought that like women were super fragile and frail during their pregnancy and they shouldn't do anything. We know better now.
Right.
But I think some of that has stuck around, and I think women sometimes are afraid about lifting during their pregnancy because of those sort of old school myths. And then I kind of think it's funny because I have clients who, it's like they have a 30-pound toddler and they're carrying that toddler around all day and they're like, but is it safe for me to lift more than 5 pounds? And I'm like,
think about what you're doing. Yeah, like think about what you're doing.
You should do this in here so you get stronger, so you don't hurt yourself when you're doing it out of the gym, because you are going to do it out of the gym. It's just inevitable.
No, 100%. And I will call her. I don't think she'll care, but I'll call her and ask in case she does. And if so, I'll cut this out. But my sister, she had her first, and she had, there's a number of factors that went into how she felt about, like everything, but also, how she handled like postpartum recovery and like getting back into shape after and getting back into the gym. But she started weight training after her first child. Then she got pregnant very quickly with her second child. She was weight training like through that whole experience. When she gave birth to her second child, because she was weight training during her pregnancy, she had such a faster like recovery. And like, I don't want to say like the word bounce back. I like kind of like hate that term, but she had such a easier time getting back into the gym and feeling like herself again in her own body. And I really feel, and she really feels like a lot of that had to do with the fact that she was weight training.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
And she weight trained during her third pregnancy as well. And like now is cleared to work out again. And so she's back in the gym. But like weight training, I have seen it. Like she's like a small girl. She's literally like 5 foot. And she got ripped after her second baby, like ripped to be in the best shape of her entire life after 2 kids.
Good for her.
And I just can't get over it because like I literally watched it firsthand.
Yeah.
And with my mom, like she wanted to start weight training once she became a grandmother because she wanted, again, also to be able to like run around with the kids and like improve her quality of life while she's, here and has this privilege of aging. And like, it's really real. Like my mom is ripped too.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting ripped and like everyone's ripped.
Just
and like
a family of ripped ladies.
These are just, again, we talked about the confidence thing too. Like the longevity, it's like, again, the research is there. Like the confidence though, it's insane what it does for women. Like 100%. It's really crazy. What are some of the myths also about weightlifting? I'm going to use a lot of this specifically for women because like that is my audience. And we're also like underrepresented in a lot of these 100%. Conversations. Because I feel like there's so many myths about like, you'll get bulky.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
You shouldn't take creatine. Like you shouldn't do all these things. And like, I just feel like they're crazy.
Yep. So I have like a conspiracy theory that it's going to make you bulky myth kind of like reemerges every time women are getting a little too powerful.
I could not agree more.
And it's like just there to sort of like make us think we shouldn't be taking up space and that we should stay small and that we should stay weak, because honestly, it's probably for the benefit of,
everyone else.
A lot of people.
Because if we become too strong and too powerful. Like,
so because of that, I always like almost hate to like give it attention.
That's fair.
Because I feel like it's such like it's yes.
Yeah,
but let's just dive into it real quick. First of all, I think there's this sort of like idea that there's different types of muscle, and you can build like bulky muscle or you can build like toned muscle. And like muscle is muscle, right? Like there's
I didn't even know that people were saying that. That's crazy. Muscle is muscle.
Yes. I think the one right now is very much like if you do like Pilates or like low impact, you'll build like toned or like long and lean muscle. And if you do weight training, you'll build bulky muscle. Is like, I think that's kind of
one of the
one that's sort of being pushed in this moment. But it's like, really your muscle can do 2 things. It can grow or it can atrophy, it can shrink. Like that's pretty much it. And there are certainly like modalities of exercise that are more beneficial or like faster in building muscle and can build more muscle. But like that's it. You could just build more.
Right.
It's not like a different
There are different categories.
It's not like this is bulk muscle. Like now that I picked up a 15-pound dumbbell, it's going to be bulk muscle, and now that I'm on a reformer, it's going to be tone muscle. Like
they're not. Muscle is muscle. I love that.
Yes,
that's good.
Muscle is muscle, and we love muscle because we just said all the reasons why
Obsessed.
it's amazing for you. So we don't need to fear it. We should be embracing the muscle. So like that's first and foremost. Those are not two different things. I think sometimes what people have in their mind when they're like picturing bulky is they're like picturing like a female bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that because I've worked in the fitness industry for a decade and I've been around a lot of female bodybuilders. I like know what they do to look like that. I know the kind of like dedication and like the amount of time, energy, effort that it takes to look like that. And I so promise anybody listening who's fearful of looking like they're too bulky or whatever you have in your mind, it does not happen by accident. It is never accidental. Those women train their butts off.
Yeah.
And like we're talking
that's like their full-time job.
6 days a week. We're talking they weigh and measure every morsel of food that they put into their bodies, and that it's like a very specific diet in order to look the way that they do. And more times than not, they're also sometimes taking additional
other things,
support and help.
So it does not happen
It's
by
not
accident.
accidentally. And most women are probably strength training like a few times a week, moderate to heavy. Like I promise it's just not going to happen accidentally.
You don't just walk into a gym and like wake up one day like
anecdotally, I've been strength training very, very, very consistently for probably like 4 to 5 days a week for 12 years. And I still have never seen Arnold Schwarzenegger looking back at me in the mirror. You know, like it's just not happened. So it's very unlikely that will happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like scream every time someone's like, but like, I'm scared of getting bulky. I'm scared of this. Like, you have to literally commit your life to looking like that in order for that to happen.
It's
like,
just,
it is, they do, like, that's by design. That does not happen by accident. I like the way that you said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I've had people like come in and they say that, because it does happen, like I typically am like, okay, look, like I don't want to like bodily autonomy. Everyone kind of gets to decide how they, you know. So I usually say like, look, like this is like, we're going to do what we're going to do. And if you ever reach a point during our training where you're like, I think I'm like putting on way too much muscle, tell me.
Have you
and
ever
let me
had that
tell you
happen?
how many times that's happened. Zero.
Right.
Never. Usually it's like, okay, like I want to like, come on.
Yeah, like, let's keep going.
Yes, because like it's actually really hard to like put on significant amounts of muscle, like really difficult, especially for women, especially because I literally just told you the stats. We're losing muscle as we age. We're losing it.
Yep.
So like to like get like really big, to put on tons and tons of muscle, the amount of muscle mass that it would take to do that, like it's actually like, it's so hard. It's even hard for men to put on muscle, and they have way more testosterone. They put on muscle way more easily than women.
And you have to eat so much in order for like that to happen. Like that's like another thing, and we can talk more about that later. But like when you're weightlifting, like, and just working out in general, okay, whether you were like running or doing Pilates or whatever, like you have to fuel your body, but especially if you wanted to like look like a bodybuilder, like you have to be very specific and intentional.
What I mean. Like they're tracking, they're measuring, they're like following a plan from
macros or whatever they're called.
Yeah, so it's not like it just doesn't really happen. That you like do a couple strength training workouts a week for like 6 months and you roll over and you're like absolutely like huge. It's not an accident. Very unlikely. But also like let's not be afraid to take up space. Like let's not feel like we need to constantly shrink ourselves. Totally. Like let's try and like move past the just like, yes, it won't make you bulky, but like also like why are we always so worried about taking up space? Like why are we always so concerned with that? When again, remember all those benefits? Like we would rather like wither away to look a certain way than like be our healthiest, strongest selves because we're worried about like putting on a little too much muscle. Is like I think that's like kind of where I want to move in the conversation away from just the like you won't get bulky, like okay, but like also like let's move past that. Like why are we willing to like push aside all of these amazing things that can literally help us live better lives, longer lives, like happier, more confident lives, because we're literally worried about putting on like a few pounds of extra muscle. Like that's crazy.
It's so crazy. And it actually like, this is top of mind for me because as you know, I'm on my day 6 journey of quitting the vape, and literally every comment that is in my like TikTok right now is like, well, I'm worried like that I'm going to gain weight. Like I've heard people gain like 10 pounds or 5 pounds or whatever. Like I'm really worried about that. I'm like, what are we really talking about here? Okay. Because we're talking about this USB stick of chemicals that does not, like, we don't get out of this scot-free, you know, like you might not get cancer from smoking the vape, but like you will get something, like your lungs will get fucked up, like something will get fucked up, and we're worried about gaining a few
pounds and willing to sacrifice our health over it.
Right. So so you're very right. Like whether it's weightlifting, quitting the vape, like whatever, like people would rather be smaller than do something that could potentially
benefit their health.
Like it's actually, it's bananas.
Yes.
Yeah. I also, like, obviously, I'm so lucky you're my trainer. And anyone who has you as their trainer is so lucky. But how can people get started if they want to get started with weight training? And again, I know it's not a one size fits all answer, but like maybe some like accessible tips or just things for people to keep in mind who want to get started but maybe don't have access to a trainer.
Yeah, 100%. So like if you are new to the gym or like getting back in the gym, I feel like it's January. A lot of people are sort of in that mode right now, which great, love that. I feel like the first thing that I would recommend doing is like if you are working out in a gym, go to the gym, scope it out. Like spend just one of your days scoping it out. Look at where everything is. Like take stock of where the dumbbells are. Maybe see if there's a yoga room or like a quiet room or a space that's like away from things where like maybe you want to just like find a spot where you feel a little more comfortable away from the crowds, and like you want to bring your dumbbells there for your first few times working out so you feel more comfortable and just like kind of get the lay of the land. That would be like my first step, because again, a new gym is it's overwhelming for me to walk into a new gym.
Terrifying.
And I have been doing this for a decade, but I think that is like one of like the main things. Like I said, knowledge is power. So first get to know your gym and then go in with a plan. Maybe at first that plan is, I'm going to walk on the treadmill. And you know what? Great. That's your plan. That's awesome. And maybe that's what you need to do at first to just like get comfortable, but go in with a plan. Don't go in and just like wing it, because I also think that's when people kind of get like nervous and freak out and they don't know what to do. Yeah. So if you want to start strength training, there are a lot of places to like find free easy beginner workout plans. One of them is literally on my Instagram. If you go to my story highlights on my Instagram, my first highlight is beginner fitness. And I have multiple like reels and information on there where you can literally find, like, you can find a full workout and you can literally take that workout and you can go to the gym tomorrow and you can do it. So if someone wanted to do that, go ahead.
Free idea.
Yes. And also a lot of the stuff that I put on there is like dumbbell only. So if you're not comfortable with like equipment or barbell or anything like that, if you don't want to use machines yet, that's totally cool. Or if you're at home, start there.
Yeah.
And just like spend some time doing the same workout over and over again. Like, first of all, like repetition is very important in terms of like building muscle, but it's also helpful, I think, to just like, okay, like this is my routine and I'm going to do it a few times while I feel really comfortable and like get to know these exercises and like start to build my confidence up a little bit. So I think
like the muscle to like mind movement is a huge thing too. And so getting comfortable is definitely helpful. And I don't know if everyone knows this or like I just didn't know this. I would always just walk into a gym with no plan. I would go walk on the treadmill and it'd be like, oh, if I like waltz into like another exercise, like great, good for me. But once I started working out with you, I realized I don't know why it took me so long to but when I left the gym with you one day, like I literally was like, felt like everything made sense. I realized that we did the same warm up and then we did a set of 3 workouts 3 times. And then we moved on to a second set of workouts, which we did 3 times. And then we ended with some sort of like core exercise. And I was like, oh, this is it. You go to the gym and you do the same group of exercises 3 times.
Yeah. I mean that, and like there are multiple ways to like program a workout, but like, yes.
I don't know why. It just all made sense for me. I'm like, oh, I don't have to go do 75 different things.
Yes.
I just do I have to pick 3 things. And then it became so much easier on the days where I wasn't with you to go to the gym, write down 3 workouts or 4 workouts, and then like little exercises, and then just do them 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah. So that's also like a huge thing. If you're a beginner, I think a lot of people overprogram their workouts because they think they need to be doing a whole lot of stuff in one workout. I would say choose like 4 to 7 exercises max and just like choose those exercises. If you're like really nervous or like unsure, just choose four things that you know how to do. You probably know how to do a squat. You probably know how to do a row. You probably know how to do a bridge, and you probably know how to do some form of a push-up, right? Like there you go. There's a starting.
That's solid.
There's a starting point. Full body workout.
Yeah.
That's also typically what I would recommend. Like if you're a beginner, probably starting off with a full body. Like I think sometimes also people put the cart before the horse, and they are like, what's my workout split? And I'm like, have you ever been to the gym and lifted consistently 1 to 2 days a week for like more than like a month? And they're like, no. So I'm like,
what is a workout split?
Oh, a split is like when you're, doing different days of the week are attributed to like different muscle groups.
Okay.
So maybe you do like a leg day, maybe you do like a push day, chest day, back day, those kinds of things. So people like want to like figure that out, and it's like they haven't ever consistently gone to the gym like and lifted 1 or 2 days a week in their entire life. So like slow down.
One step at a time.
Start maybe full body. Start maybe just a few exercises at a time. Start with things that you feel comfortable with. Start with things that are maybe a little more familiar, or you feel like you can do, and like just slowly add weight over time. And then maybe once you're feeling a little more confident, maybe you kind of branch out. You try some new things. Maybe you try a barbell. Maybe you try a machine. But like take it slow is my recommendation. Like just slow it down. Take a step back. It's also like the internet is what makes a lot of this like way more confusing, because someone who's never lifted in their life is all of a sudden listening to a podcast and they're talking about biohacking and they're talking about, so it's like
too much.
And it's like, again,
the noise.
Keep it simple.
Yep.
Like whatever you're doing, simplify it even more. Like if you're not able to be consistent with what you're doing, take a step back and simplify it even more. Like let's rewind. And once you start feeling better, then you add, right? Like first,
then you add weight.
Yes. Then you add what you're doing. Maybe you add the days of the week you're going. Maybe you add the types of exercises you're doing. But like I always say, like start as simple as possible. It is scary and it is overwhelming. So like make it as easy on yourself as possible so that you actually go.
Right. So that it's attainable.
Yes.
And to that point, like I come to you now. I come once a week, which by the way is a surprise. Like I would love to come twice a week. Like we can talk about that later. But I feel, I don't know, maybe I don't know, which is why I'm asking you, but I feel like I probably wouldn't want to do the workouts we're doing like 5 days a week. You know what I'm saying? So like what is like the normal or like average? Like if I said to you like, Miriam, I want to come in 3 days a week, would you be like, that's too much? Or would you like adjust what we do right now because I wanted to increase the frequency? Like what is like the normal average weightlifting a week?
I think 2 to 3 days a week is amazing.
Yeah.
Like if you love it and you want to do more, fine.
Yeah.
But like I think that, and like most of those benefits like can be achieved with 2 to 3 times a week. Like so I think that's great. And I don't think that anyone needs to like try to go crazy and do more than that if it's not something that they're like super excited about.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my recommendation. If you're starting out, again, start with the twice.
Yeah.
Just do the twice. Like don't push it. If you've never done once a week, don't jump to 3 times a week.
Agree.
Try twice. Like that's amazing. You're going to see results. You're going to feel better. You're going to get stronger with twice a week. Like that's great. And then if you want to do a third, amazing.
Gorgeous.
Awesome. Love that for you. If you love everything else you're doing and you're doing other modalities of exercise that make you happy, keep at it.
If you take one thing away from this episode, like just find a way that you like moving your body, right?
100%.
And stick to it. You know what I mean? Like weightlifting is awesome, and I do think everyone should try to do it. But like if you just,
it doesn't need to be your entire life though.
Yes.
Like I get that. Like obviously it's my life because it's what I do.
Yes.
But like
livelihood.
I understand that for most people that's not the case. Like
Right.
that's totally fine. I recommend it to everyone because I think that we can all benefit from it. I think it's important, especially for women. But like if you're doing it once a week and you're doing other things with it and you feel good and you feel strong and you feel good in your body,
gorgeous.
I'm
More
so
power
happy
to
for
you.
you. Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And like I pepper in other workouts. Like randomly I'll do a soul cycle class. Randomly I'll do a core power class. Sometimes I'll go to the gym and like just walk on the treadmill. Like other things happen. But like for me, I'm like, okay, I just need to move my body. And then obviously like having you in my life is like, 1, I want to get the fuck out of my house. 2, I've learned so much. 3, the confidence. 4, also like I didn't know what I was doing with these exercises. And so to have someone hands-on, one-on-one, understand me and like be able to like push me and like hold me accountable was like the best investment I've ever made, which just a sidebar. Like if you're thinking about getting a trainer, and I get it, everyone is in completely different financial situations. I completely understand that. I do think in some way investing in your physical health is like you will never regret that. Like you will never regret cutting out another thing. Like maybe you like switch to doing your nails at home so that you can afford to do, you know, like a workout class or maybe like just some sort of program that you do at home and it's like a monthly subscription. Like, I just think you will never regret investing in that part of yourself.
Yes. And kind of to tack on that, like, I just want to say, obviously I know that like for a lot of people, the barrier to personal training is money, and totally understand like it is an investment 100%. I do think though, for some people, they have this fear or this sort of idea that like there's shame in needing help around their health, around exercise. Like they feel like, and I hear this a lot, like when people who reach out, like they feel like almost embarrassed, like, oh, I should know how to do this on my own. Like I should just be able to do this. Like I shouldn't need a trainer. I shouldn't need like to go to classes to feel motivated. And I just want to like correct that, because it's so normal to need help in, first of all, any area of life.
Yeah.
But also in this, like lifting specifically, it's a skill. The cool thing about that is like it's a skill we can build and we can work on, and but like it's so normal to not know what you're doing at first.
So normal.
And to need support. It's also normal to like struggle with motivation. It's normal to like struggle with feeling like you can be consistent. Like that is so, like, there's not something wrong with you. And I think, I don't know why a lot of people have that sort of block of like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just do this? Like, I know what to do. Why can't I just do it?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's such a human and normal thing. And we seek support in so many other areas of our life. And like, we feel like we would just do better having help from a professional. And I don't think that like fitness should be treated any differently. And I don't know why sometimes people have that block, but I just want to like break the stigma that there's like nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with you for needing that support or like wanting that support.
Totally. Like you don't know how to do something when you've never done it.
100%. Why most people are not born, they don't come out of the womb knowing how to go to the weight room and put together a workout plan and to like lift with good form and to do things correctly. So like it's okay. And
yes,
you might like actually save yourself a lot of wheel spinning by just like doing that sooner rather than later. So yeah, we're breaking the stigma on that.
100%. I love that you said that. And to that point, like right now there's very much that like new year, new me mentality, which can be very motivating, but also very stressful. And I feel like it can get so stressful for a lot of people that you start to ruminate and you start to spiral and you start to have those intrusive thoughts of like, well, why can't I do it? Like, and then it just ends up this toxic cycle where you never even end up doing it. And there's also this like third branch where it's like, there's so much pressure to start off the new year on this right foot. I mean, there's a reason, like, I think, what is it, like January 2nd or 3rd is like the most populated day in a gym in this country, because there's so much stress and pressure to like meet all these goals and do all these challenges like 75 hard or whatever the other ones are called. I wanted to just give you also the floor to like to talk about this and talk some sense into people, because with the like the amount of people I know doing 75 hard or whole 30 or whatever these like diet challenges. I mean, I'm all for dry January, like do dry January, like that's great. But the pressure to do something like 75 hard is like out of this world. It's not normal.
Yeah. So in terms of just like New Year's resolutions, I love a New Year's resolution. And if like January 1st is what finally like gives you the motivation to start something that you've been wanting to do for a while, I think that's amazing.
Go off.
And I think if you start on January 1st or July 15th, like whenever you start is the right time to start, right? Like if you're doing it for the right reasons. And I think that's where things get a little bit murky. And I think, again, because I work in the industry, I'm hyper aware. This is a huge money-making month for an industry that makes a lot of money, and it is an industry, and at the end of the day it is about sales, and there are a lot of people selling you things, and so a lot of the media that you're consuming is with the intention of you spending a lot of money on trying to change yourself. And so I think that just, you have to keep that in mind as you're filtering through. And again, if you're like if you're like, I've been wanting to start a healthier journey for like a long time, and it's a new year, so I feel like it's a good time, then I think that's amazing. And like it can be like just a good time for motivation, and take advantage of that. And I think that's awesome. I think it's just, it gets to be concerning, when people are like feeling the societal pressure, they're feeling that like marketing pressure when they're scrolling through and they're seeing all of these diets, supplements, things being sold to them, and they're feeling like, oh, do I need that? Right. And they were totally fine a week ago, but all of a sudden they're seeing all of this, and now they're like, maybe I don't feel good about myself. And then what that leads to is people doing extremes. They take it to the extreme. And the extremes are why there's a lot of that, like the people make the jokes about like everyone joining the gym in January and then dropping off by February, is because a lot of people take it to an extreme. They do some challenge, or they decide that they commit to going every single day. And it's like, if you're starting on January 1st, great, but I would so much rather you, like we said, start slow and steady in a way that can take you into February and into 2026 and into the rest of your life than do something that's going to burn you out by February 1st.
Yeah. It needs to be sustainable.
And that's what happens. People just, and like, I have lots of thoughts on 75 Hard. I'll just say that my biggest problem with 75 Hard is that I think one of the key pillars of it is that you have to do the things in it every single day. And if you don't, you have to go back to day one. And I don't love...
Wait, I don't like that.
And I don't like that because because like consistency doesn't look like every day. Consistency is like a little bit here and a little bit there. And like over time and building habits that can last you a lifetime. And I think that kind of hinders you from success.
Yeah.
Because it makes you think like if I miss out on one single day, I failed. Whereas like normalize missing out on a day, normalize missing out on 2 or 3 days, and knowing that like you built sustainable habits that you'll get back to. So no big deal.
Like
no
life
big deal.
happens.
Yeah.
Like not everyone has time. What is it? Like two workouts a day,
It's
one
2 workouts
inside,
a day.
one
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
How the fuck am I supposed to go outside right now?
That's a good question.
Like Jesus Christ. It's just, it's too much. And it makes it unattainable to do, to the point where you like feel like you have to do it. Okay, you put all this pressure on yourself, like you stress yourself out to do the 75 hard. You get to the end of 75 hard, and then you feel accomplished for like 1 second, and that accomplishment also spirals into like, I'm not going to work out for 3 weeks. I'm not, and then you end up falling off, and that's not how you built a sustainable habit.
And my clients that see the most results are my clients who are able to like let themselves have days off, let themselves like feel like
Rest
it's
is
normal
important.
to like go on vacation for 2 weeks and not work out at all, knowing that they're going to come right back to the routine, and it's no big deal because like they've built that and they don't feel guilty about that time. Like that to me, that's a healthy relationship with exercise, and that's like a relationship that will last a lifetime versus like a sort of short-term
strained relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I just hot take, but like I love mediocrity when it comes to fitness. Like be mediocre. Like you don't have to be perfect. And I think when we like try and be like perfect in our fitness or health journey, it leads to failure. So I would rather like long-term mediocrity than like short-term perfection.
I love that. That's the clip. That's what I'm pulling as the clip. That's perfect. And then I will end on this note, because you and I, again, have had we've had so many conversations about everything. Like every Bravo franchise we have discussed.
Yes, because if you train with me, you'll talk a lot of Bravo.
Of course. Like I don't even know like what would you talk about with people, like if not Bravo, like what if they don't watch Bravo? Kind of like a core.
There's a few.
It's a core requirement. But so many people, when we put out the Q&A that you were coming on, asked so many questions about diet. From asking me like, what is your diet? Can you do what I eat in a day? I always get those types of comments. How much protein should we really be eating? Like all of the like macros, micros. I was like, what the Google? I'm like Googling, what is a macro? I just couldn't get over the amount of like diet questions, which I would be, a liar if I said that like diet doesn't play a role in our physical health. It's something I'm, like working on all the time, is like making healthier choices, because even though I look a certain way, the food I put in my body does not always reflect it. And I mentioned before that I came to you in a smaller body, honestly, like a little bit malnourished, a lot of bit malnourished probably. And I now feel so much better as someone who is like healthier, stronger, eating more, using my body in a more functional way and treating it well. And so I just wanted to like have like just like kind of an open-ended dialogue around like what the fuck kind of world are we living in when it comes to the diet culture? I know we just said that we're kind of getting these like diet fads masked in different fonts. There's like cortisol face, inflammation diet, like no sugar, like it's too much.
Yeah, it's wild out there.
It's the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, I think that interesting to see like so many questions about like specific diets. And I know that like what I eat in the day videos, like I know those do really, really well. Every time I come across one, like they have
so many questions and engagement.
Yes. People are really interested in that. I am because I am a fitness professional, because people look to me and like take my advice on all things like health, fitness, wellness. I am aware of that responsibility, and I am so cautious about what I say around diet because of it. It's why I don't really talk too much about diet in general, because I am a woman. I'm a woman who's been victim to diet culture myself. I have a lot of clients who have been victim to diet culture. I have a lot of clients who've been victim to trainers who have given them specific diet advice that backfired and spiraled them into eating disorders.
Yeah,
so
it's really real.
I take that responsibility so seriously. I would never want to like be that factor in someone's life that like made them question their body, how they look, what they're eating. So that's why I'm like super cautious around even talking about it. We're all thinking about it. We have it coming at us from every angle. So like I'm thinking when I have a client come to the room with me, they're already like it's already on their mind. Like so yeah, I do take that very seriously, and I always want to be careful around the topic. But like it's so intense on social media, and I think while a lot of things have changed since like we were teenagers,
oh my God, the tabloids!
And like things were like really bad and really in your face. I think it's all still there. It's just more insidious. It's just better
Masked.
hidden, better packaged, and yeah, but it's very, very much still there and very much still alive.
Yeah, they're like packaging it as biohacking, which like I'm all for like a good biohack situation, but like a lot of it is like with malintent. And I think like the biggest thing that I've learned, especially over this last year, of intentionally trying to gain weight in a healthy manner, which in the past I would have just like not been exercising as much and like eating a bunch of fast food, because like I used to be like a hardcore fast food addict, and I would have just like gained weight that way. So what I've learned throughout this journey of like coming to you and like trying to make healthier choices is that like you need to fuel your body. Like you need to listen to your body when it's hungry. You need to like really keep in mind that when you are going to exercise or do a workout, like your body is like losing things, and then it needs to receive nourishment like
100%.
as a supplement. You know what I mean? So you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your body when it's hungry, and like you have to fuel it properly. Whatever that looks like for you, whether you know, are gluten-free or whatever, like you do you, but you have to find things that nourish your fucking body.
And a lot of women are underfueling.
Yes.
A lot of women are
long.
coming from like decades of underfueling, because we've all, again, been victim to being told to eat less and move more. And it takes a toll on our bodies, and it takes a toll on our health. When I think about nutrition in general, I always like to think about adding, not subtracting. So like, where can you add things? If you're adding more nutrient-dense foods, are you adding more vegetables? Are you adding more protein versus subtracting? Because I just wholeheartedly believe that restrictive diets just backfire. I just believe that they do. So yeah, that's how I like to think about things, because there's nothing wrong with being like, okay, I want to like eat a little bit healthier. Like I don't feel like I've been treating my body that well, like and putting things into it that feel that great. So like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's like very easy to fall down the trap of restriction, cutting things out, underfueling. And again, I think social media like contributes in a huge way to that, because we do see people posting like full day of eating videos, and then I'm sure there are lots of young women out there who are trying to copy that way of eating because they like the way that person looks. And body diversity is real. So like, even if I shared every single thing I ate and every single workout that I did and was like, here you go.
Same with the skincare and the exercise. Yeah. It's not going to work for
You're not going to we're not going to wake up and look identical tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So again, that's why it's like replicating someone who you think is attractive and has a hot body is like not necessarily the healthiest way to go about things.
And interestingly enough, when I have been about to talk about the intentional weight gain, I've almost been nervous to talk about it, because I'm so nervous that people are going to like perceive it as like I'm trying to lose weight or change my diet to lose weight, when in reality it's like hard for me to paint a picture for people that like I've been like literally treating my body like a dumpster fire with food for my entire life, and like now I'm literally just trying to eat food that like comes from like the earth or like is real food, and not like synthetic chicken nuggets from McDonald's that I like comprise like most of my body for my entire life. But I get so nervous to talk about it because I get scared that people are going to see it and be like, oh my God, like I can't eat fast food anymore. Or like,
Yeah.
I should do that because if I eat like, you know, a Snickers, like then that's bad. You know what I mean? Because I feel like
Yeah.
we all have a responsibility, and I feel that too. But like the reality is, I'm just trying to eat like real food now, like protein and like real stuff. That's
Well,
it.
I love that you talk about like intentional weight gain, because I think there's also this idea, and I think it's perpetuated a lot often, honestly, by like fitness professionals, that the only like valid goal is weight loss. Like that's it. Like an assumption that like if you're coming into like a gym or a personal training session, that you're coming there because you want to lose weight. And like I will say that's like absolutely not the case. Like I have clients with all sorts of different goals, some that have to do with weight loss or weight gain, and then some that like literally are like, I don't care about the way that my body looks, and I have XYZ goal, and I'm here for a completely different reason. And I think like also it's important for people who are like a professional in the industry working with individuals to be aware that like you can't just assume what someone's walking in the room with.
Yeah.
Because I do hear about and see that happening very, very often. Someone goes in for a consultation and they're thrown on the scale and they're like, okay, here's your starting weight. And someone's like, well, I don't care about my starting weight. Like, I'm not trying to lose weight. Like, So I think just like normalizing that there can be goals outside of just weight loss, and that you can do exercise and like partake in like healthy behaviors, whether that's moving your body, whether that's eating more vegetables. You can participate in healthy behaviors without the goal being weight loss. Like, let's normalize that, please.
That's a beautiful note for us to end on. I love that. That was gorgeous. Miriam, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
You've
for
changed my
having
life.
me.
I love you. Where can everyone find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Miriam Fried. And then my personal training business is MF Strong. So you can find me at MF Strong NYC. And then my website is mfstrongnyc.com. I'm also on TikTok, both of those same names.
If that's still there when
I
this
hope
comes
I didn't
out.
just jinx it.
Yeah. RIP, but hopefully not. Thank you so much. You are the best. And I know a lot of people are going to benefit from this. So thank you.
I hope so. Thanks for having me.
Yay.